How you doing? This is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh, and from time to time I get books for free. And today I went to the soup kitchen and there's a table there. They have books for anybody to take. One book I got from the library for $1. But people have asked me to talk about this story, so I'm going to show you one of the books I got. I've read this today, and I've read other books about her, and that's a book by Anne Edwards about Judy Garland. Judy Garland was, for those who may not know her, was an American singer, an actress, entertainer, dancer. Lived a tortured life as a young girl. She signed a contract with MGM. They made her do movie after movie after movie, literally with no breaks between, to rest. Got her addicted to barbiturates and uppers. She'd take the uppers to stay awake to do the movies. They had her on a chicken soup only diet to lose weight because she had a tendency to gain weight. And no meat, no vegetables, just broth, I think. And she got addicted to the things and got to the point in her career where she couldn't do anything without. She had to take 8, 9, 10 of one pill to wake her up, and then 8, 9, 10 of another pill to put her to sleep. And it took its toll on her health. They aborted a child of hers at the studio. They didn't want her to be pregnant. They interfered with her marriages, and she lived a rather unhappy life and went through money because she didn't take care of her own money. She had other people do it, and they were spending her money like water. So I'll go back to her in a minute. Okay, this is a book, FDR's Last Year by Jim Bishop. He was a friend of Walter Winchell. And I picked up this one for $1, the Address book, and direct access to celebrities, CEOs, and this is maybe kind of old, but it's still kind of useful. And I was curious. Some of these people are dead, like Jules Pfeiffer, but might be a useful book to have. Okay, this is one, Life is a Banquet, by Rosalind Russell. This guy is very funny. Dave Barry, you can date when you're 40. Very funny humor writer. Here's a book. Whoops. Here's a book on houseplants. I love plants. I love house plants. I love growing things, but I can't do it in this little tiny apartment. And I'll give you an idea of some neat. I do have my giant cactus outside and my kind of false palm tree or whatever the hell it is. And then this one is a book on fruits and vegetables, and they have like avocados near, grapes and raisins, how to make tea, ginger, garlic, how to make pizza. You can just, there's no illustrations, but okra, mullein, marshmallow, melons, kava, kelp, kiwi fruit, I like kiwi fruit, grapefruit, guar gum. Just going through these, and what you do with the garlic and onions, chives, so that will be useful. Anyway, going back to Judy Garland, my mother was a nurse, and when we lived at 3600 16th Street in Washington, D.C., we wound up living there, and she wound up working and taking care of a man at the Woodner Hotel. I don't even know if the hotel's still there. It was bought by Harry Belafonte because the Woodner wouldn't rent rooms to blacks, so he bought the hotel. And the person she wound up taking care of was a man named Raoul E Desvernine. Now, Raoul E Desvernine was a Cuban American. And his grandfather had either been the mayor of Havana or the governor of the state that Havana was in. This is way before Batista. But Desvernine was a high-powered attorney. He was a conservative Republican, very against FDR. Wrote a book in 1936 that's available out there. Was, I believe, an isolationist, was allied with Lindbergh, not want to get us involved in Europe. He was the president of his own steel company, wrote economic papers. He was also the chief attorney for Inland Steel, J&L Steel, Republic Steel, and Sony. So he was a high-powered guy, but my mother wound up taking care of him and his wife because he wound up having a stroke. And he could speak, but not very well, just like it's around that time. It was about 1961, 62, I think. John Kennedy Sr., Joe Kennedy, I think it was Joe Kennedy. He had a stroke too and couldn't talk anymore. But my mother wound up going with him to New York, and she took me along. So we sat in the Capital Airlines plane. I remember my mother being most annoyed because Mr. Desvernine ate her baked Alaska. It took me all these years to figure out I didn't have one. I had something else, I don't remember what. Gave me a little plastic airplane and junior pilot wings. I had those for a long time. But to figure out what baked Alaska was. So we get to New York, Idlewild, not Kennedy. And Idlewild is an area in New York City, out in Queens, I believe. And we took a cab and wound up in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, which is a very famous hotel in New York. It just got bought by the Chinese. Very rich people stay there, like they stay at the plaza that Donald Trump owns. So we go there, and the next day we had to go out, and she had to take Mr. Desvernine around the places he had to meet. So we went to one place on Wall Street, excuse me, was the offices of Richard Nixon. So I got to meet the former vice president. I'm with my mother. I knew who he was. I'd seen him on the debates. And we did other things around the city. We ate at a restaurant called the Brass Rail, which is nationwide. It's a steakhouse. And, went to Macy's. And I think we went to Radio City Music Hall later that evening. But we stayed up there in New York a couple of days. This is during the summer, so I didn't have to go to school. And one afternoon or evening, I think it was the afternoon, we're coming out of the elevator on our floor, which coincidentally happened to be, I didn't know it at the time, neither did my mother, the floor that Judy Garland was staying on. Well, Judy had a series of concerts. She had a show on CBS, and that was very popular, but the network screwed with her, and it was canceled. And she was having always financial difficulties. Her husband, Sid Luff, took advantage of her. Her agents took advantage of her. She owed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS periodically because no one paid her taxes. They all just took their cut and left her in the lurch. So it's very sad. But anyway, we come out of the elevator and we're going down the hall toward our room. And there was this room to my right that the door was open, all the way open. And I saw the room, and I saw the entry to the room, and it was like ours, but it was a suite. We had a room, but this was a suite with all kinds of, opulent furnishings and the attendant things you'd expect in an expensive hotel suite. Don't ask me how much it costs for a hotel. I don't know. I can look up the Capital Airline cost from Pittsburgh to New York. I think it was like $29. So I looked it up recently because I saw ads for Capital Airlines. They were bought up by United later. So as I get to the doorway, I see things flying out of the doorway. And I jumped back. And I started to go forward again, and more stuff comes flying out of the doorway. And it was like something out of a cartoon in a movie. There were like cups and saucers and plates. And then came, my mother had one, a tea service, sterling silver from Tiffany's or something on that order, the coffee pot, the creamer thing, the sugar thing, the spoons, the tray. Then came a lamp, chairs, silverware. And all this time, someone was screaming at the top of her lungs and using obscenities that I didn't even know then. The F word, you bitch, da-da-da-da-da-da, I'm going to kill you. So I look inside and I see Judy Garland go nuts. So I backed off again because now there's this pile of stuff in the carpet in the hallway. And told my mother, why is Judy Garland going crazy, Mother? And my mother said, never mind, just let's get down the hallway before you get hit with something. And that was the only time I ever saw Judy Garland that wasn't on TV. But that's my Judy Garland story. She was, we found out later, my mother asked, she was going crazy at her maid. Her maid had done something to tick her off, and she decided to show her displeasure by throwing everything with the kitchen sink, and she might have thrown that out, for all I know, out into the hallway. So, very sad that she would go into these rages, and there's a story in the book where Judy wound up with her face all cut. By the way, this is acne, not anything of that. Blamed the maid, and the maid said, no, Judy self-inflicted razor cuts in her own face. She was very unhappy. So it's one of those great tragedies of American entertainment that the poor girl wasn't even allowed to marry. She wanted to marry Billy Rose, the conductor. That marriage foundered. Her marriage to Vincent Minnelli foundered. Her marriage to Sid Luft. She was going to marry another guy that apparently was the bigamist. And she and Mickey Rooney were the best of friends. And Rooney was asked once why he didn't marry her. And he said, it would be like marrying my sister. But that's because Judy was, when she was young, everybody's sister, And so I feel sorry for the woman today. And I'm sorry she had a terrible life. She has a very talented pair of daughters. She has a son, but I don't know what the son's doing. But Liza Minnelli and Lorna left. So that's my Judy Garland story. All right, have a great night. Stay safe and warm out there, and a great Thanksgiving. And this is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.